Guys, this is Video Fletcher Z, however you may know me. I wanted to showcase a build I've been playing and working on for the past few days on stream. Now, the concept of this build is important to note because that determines whether the build was a success or a failure in my opinion. If I set out for this build to be a one-shot-in 1Exalt Shaper Farmer, then spoilers, this build was a failure. But what this build set out to do was to be a budget build with under an Exalt spend, and I wanted to see exactly what content I could make it do. I wanted to experience the playstyle, and I wanted to experience the good points and the bad points and share with you my experiences with this Berserker Blade Flurry character. But if you wanted to know more detail about how I leveled, what I used and when and where, then there is a video on my channel that describes that in more detail. There are multiple parts to this video that I wanted to discuss, and in the background are just going to be some clips running of some boss kills I've done, some maps and some personal highlights or whatever I can find taken from my stream. Now, I wanted to discuss the lab, because a lot of people like to play the lab. This build is great at all three labs. When it comes to Uber Lab, it's pretty much go in there and one-shot him or he one-shots you. Also, there is an issue where you are a Val Pact build running Blood Rage, which means you have to permanently be killing things, which isn't always possible. So we turn off Blood Rage, and if you want to farm the lab, there is an option to get a Belly of the Beast and spec out of Val Pact just for the lab, just regret 1 point. And it makes it a bit smoother, but it's by no means the smoothest lab farmer I've played at all. So just wanted to put that out there because a lot of people play the lab. So what is this build best at, and what is it worst at? Now for me, where the build shines for the budget that we've used is the maps from tier 12 and below, potentially 13s. The build is just a zip along, Whirling Blades, Blood Magic, as we've spoke about, Blood Rage build that you just, again, zip along, leech through maps, leech through breaches, blow up some bosses, and it's a leech or die trying kind of build. What it is worst at is the absolute endgame content, where, for me personally, there becomes an issue with there doesn't really seem to be any reason to play life-based builds, because we've spec'd into as much damage and leech as we can, but still our damage doesn't seem too top-end on a budget, remember, on a budget, and our health pool just simply isn't high enough to really consistently be able to kill these bosses. Now, I have managed to kill the Guardians, and I have managed to get Shaper to Phase 2. Nothing to brag about, but the build on a budget has managed to kill the Guardians, and I think if you played this build like a god on a 5-link, Shaper may be possible. 3 of my deaths were to the core part of the actual opening of Shaper, which I never ever died to on other builds, but inherently you're very close, you have to be very, very close with Conk Effect, and it can be a bit dodgy. So it is currently not Shaper viable on a cheap 5-link from my gameplay at least, but it can kill Guardians, not deathless. We do die. We've had 1 death on the Minotaur, and I think we had 2 on the Phoenix. And yeah, these aren't deathless, but we're on a budget, right? Often players don't get to experience the endgame fights, they can't even clear tier 16 maps. And this build manages to clear the actual map and get you to the boss and all that. And you just have to play it well. New players, just because they're new, it doesn't mean they can't use the keyboard and mouse properly. Because this is a dodging build, you need to see like when the Shaper slams or when the Phoenix does his whirl, you need to see these and dodge them. But a lot of the times a new player simply doesn't have the knowledge of the actual game, but they have the mechanical skill to play. So I would say this build needs a lot of skill to play compared to other builds out there, in my personal opinion. So those are some of the good and bad points. The flip side of that is it feels very rewarding to play, in the sense that you are zipping along, you are leeching, you are using your pots correctly, and we'll speak about that. This again is a sub-Exalt budget build. We are not using Vinctors, we are not using the Sin's Rebirth Stibnite Flask, we aren't using a Taste of Hate to mitigate some physical and give us more damage. We aren't using Death Doors to get rid of boots, bleed with the boots, so we have to use our pots correctly. We also are not using its series acuities, which would give us an extra 6 or 7 passive points which we could put into life and damage and jewel slots. So there is a very high amount of scalability in this build if you want to take it to the high end. You can get a 6-link lightning coil, the death's doors, the acuities. You can get a very high physical damage claw or dagger and spec into dagger nodes at just above the claw node on the top right. So there are options for this build to be insanely good. I've seen this build kill everything, but for my personal goal and for the concept of this video, I wanted to make a budget thing for the subscribers and the viewers because they've seemed to enjoy it. And we managed to basically take it to guardian killing and sort of early shaper. And so I can definitely see with some scaling and some better gear, you can definitely kill these a lot smoother, and definitely I think shaper's possible because we've seen it off other videos. But right now, it's not on a 5-link, but it doesn't mean it's a bad build. For like a sub-Exalt budget, I leveled this, and what this does for me is I now have a character that where my other Flame Blast Totem high geared CI character can go and kill all these bosses deathless. It struggles with slow maps, it struggles with low end maps where you just want to rake in currency, sort of like a Valsparker, right? My totem character can't do that. It's very, very slow whirling blades. You have to wait for the flame blasts to expand. It's not a very quick build. This build is very fast. It's fun to play. Importantly, it's fun. I've played this character for a day and 12 hours, and I've been streaming for those hours, and a lot of the times I was planning to do a 4-hour stream, and we kept going to 6-7 hours because I was honestly enjoying playing the build. So that's its biggest point for me, is I actually enjoyed playing it. Again, it might not be the most top-end crazy build, but for what it was, the budget, I enjoyed it. So again, we're just showcasing some of the kills. You're not going to be absolutely blown away. For example, when fully geared, I think you have about 38k damage on AoE. I was dealing about 20k with Conk Effect and about 13k with AoE. So you can basically triple your damage and get more survivability. So there is a lot of scalability. And personally, I just wanted to share that video. There are probably many, many things I've forgot to showcase in this. There are some, again, it is a squishy build. You will get one shot. There are issues where if you don't use your pots correctly, because we don't have death doors, because we're on a budget, that if you don't remove the bleed quick enough, that mixed with blood rage will destroy you very, very quickly. Again, there are issues with the fact you are life and you need to be very close range with Conk Effect to actually deal the damage. But again, for what it is, a budget mapper, I've actually thoroughly enjoyed it. I'm not going to sit here and tell you it's the best build I've ever played because that would be a lie, but it's really fun. Maybe it's not going to be fun for other people, but I've took it to level 89 in 1 day, 12 hours, and I've had a blast doing it. I'm probably not going to be able to take it to the absolute much higher levels because you do have those occasional deaths where if you are doing the bosses, they have that one-shot potential on the upper tier maps. But again, for what it is, I know I keep repeating myself, a budget mapper with fast-paced playstyle and leech, it's good fun. I'm trying to think of some other things that I've missed. The actual gear itself, if we take a look at the gear, or we'll just discuss the gear. The gear we have, the helmet is an Abyssus, and if you're wondering how I purchased this gear or the sort of ideas behind the gear, again, I've made another video. It's called Purchasing Gear on a Budget. The Abyssus was a well-rolled one that we waited for. We waited 10 levels. We could have equipped it at 60, but we waited to level 70 to find that bargain. We got it for about 20c. The Dorianis, again, we waited for a good roll, and we got, I think it was 8c. The chest piece was 20c, and we spent about 10c on chromes, which we have already found through leveling. One of the amulets was self-found off the quest reward from the woman that goes not a cockroach. I don't know what the hell her name is. That one. The rings were 1 and 2c each. The gloves, boots, and belt. We bought a couple of 2c items, and we scoured off what we needed, and we put on some weapon elemental damage on the belt. we put on another resist on the boots, and we put another resist on the gloves. We don't need movement speed on our boots, so you can also look at getting maybe some strength or int on your boots to help you out. But I've thoroughly enjoyed playing this character, and I wanted to share with you how it's been feeling, how it's been going on, and maybe you enjoyed it, maybe you didn't. I've thoroughly enjoyed playing it on stream. We've had a good time on stream recently, and I feel like I've come to an end with the build. It has, again, high scalability potential, but I'm not sure I'm going to take it to that high end, because the build is fun for what it is for me. I feel like if I was to dump 50 exalts into crazy gear, acuities, death's doors, insane claw, all these type of things, then ultimately it would just do what it does now, but slightly better. It would still crush the low level maps. It might crush the high level maps a bit more smoothly, but it's always going to have that issue with being 5k life, wearing an Abyssus, that yes, you will leech through 99% of everything with your new flasks, your highly upgraded flasks, your better gear, your jewels. That will be much more improved, but it's always going to have that issue where if you mechanically misplay, you will get one-shotted by most bosses with 5k life. I don't think it's worth me dumping all my currency in to scale it up when it already does what it's intending to do. When I don't feel like farming bosses and doing high-level content, and I just want to blast some maps, this will be my character to do that, because I think it's really good at what it does. So, was the build a fail? I don't think so. Was the build amazing? Not really. But again, I wanted to share this with you, share this video of the progress that we made with our budget Leechman Berserker character with Blade Flurry, and hopefully that's been something interesting to you and you've enjoyed the process, as I certainly have. If you have, then leave a comment, and a thumbs up would be much appreciated. And the link to the description of the player's guide I was using will as always be in the description. And we followed his passive trees and we changed it a little bit, but we pretty much were following his ideas, and I feel like we should give him a shout out. He was a Russian person, so we couldn't really speak to him on his guide because everything was in Russian, but we sort of just followed the trees and it worked. So there we have it, guys. I will catch you later. Hopefully that has been a sort of nice round conclusion to the video. Hopefully you have a good day, and I'll see you later.